Hi, so in this video we're going to take a look at a new command line tool that I wrote that is called Watchtower. So Watchtower is an extension to the watch command that a lot of Linux users might already be familiar with. So let's take a quick look. Basically, watch command allows you to monitor output of any command. So if I type watch ls, it will monitor whatever ls outputs, and like if I add a file here, new file, for example, .txt, I will see it appear here. So it can be helpful for a lot of different in a lot of different situations. But what I found as I started using the watch command is that to get the output of the watch command to look the way you want to, it takes a lot more than just typing something as simple as like watch ls. For instance, ls here outputs everything in a single column and without color. So in order to fix that, I would need to add arguments here and compensate for that. So it would be like color always dash capital C. And then I'd also need to quote the entire thing because of how watch interprets, how watch parses its arguments. So then I would get this output. And then if I also want to get rid of that header on the top, I would need to pass an option to watch, and then I would get kind of the output that I might be going for. So that was my experience with using watch. It just like takes a lot of these additional things, and then you end up creating like a bunch of scripts scattered around your system, and it all gets very messy after a while. And essentially what I found, what I thought would be a good idea is to create a kind of a central, so like a standard way to create scripts to pass to the watch command, so that you can run common tasks more easily. So Watchtower, what it allows you to do is to have a bunch of scripts that you create for yourself, and to run those common tasks by just typing something as simple as Watchtower. And then you can just press enter and it gives you an interactive menu, and then I can pick ls here, for example, and it would already run my predefined script and give me the output that I'm looking for. And so I also have other scripts here which I will show you later in this video, but this is essentially the idea. Like I have one here for a command line time tracker called Mediawarrior that also kind of, it takes quite a bit to get its output to look the way you want. It doesn't like let you, it doesn't fit things into the terminal screen automatically, so I had to write stuff around it to make it happen. So it takes a while. It takes some effort to do that, and it's nice to have that all organized on your system in a kind of standard way, I find. So that's why I created Watchtower. And so I use this script a lot. Like for instance, I have this dedicated tmux window that I'm going to show you right now. Essentially here on top I'm running one script through Watchtower, and this is another Watchtower script, and this is yet another Watchtower script, and they all monitor the output of Mediawarrior, so the time tracker. So this is one thing that I use Watchtower a lot for on my system, but it's also I also commonly use it for stuff like ls or like whatever other similar common tasks. So this is essentially what Watchtower is for, and now I'm gonna go ahead and explain how to use it in more detail. So let's go ahead and take a look. Here's the GitHub repo for Watchtower. Let's take a quick look at installation, because there's a couple of things that are good to know about. So since I already have a Watchtower installed on my main system, I am gonna show you the installation process in a VM here. So that's what we're gonna do. So in order to install, you need to clone the repo quite obviously, and that's what we're gonna do here. So I like cloning my kind of Git repos into this folder called local source in my home directory. So this is where I am right now, and I'm gonna git clone Watchtower here, and here we have it, and I'm gonna cd into it. So I'm gonna run tree here so we can take a look at what is inside the repository. So these are all the files that we have in the repository. Here's the Watchtower executable, so I can already run it and right from here, but you'll probably want to symlink it to some directory in your path on your system, and you might also want to do the same with the man page. So the man page, by the way, will open automatically even if you don't symlink it if you use the -- help option. You can view it either way, but you can also, it's also probably gonna make a whole lot of sense to symlink it to some directory that the man command can, where the man command can find the man page. They kind of, if you're new to this stuff, there's some instructions here in the README on GitHub, so you can follow those instructions if you don't know how to do things like set up man path, the man path variable, or the path variable, for example. But what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna symlink real quick this Watchtower binary, and I'm gonna symlink it to local bin, which is already on my path, so that Watchtower can now be run from here. It says no scripts are installed because that's something we're gonna do in a second. And I'm gonna also do the same with the man page. So like I'll link it to local share man. It's already on my man path as well, and there's a man1 directory there, and that's where I'm gonna link it to, and I can now type man Watchtower, and I can read the man page like this. So this is kind of the first thing to do here. Let me clear the screen and show the file again. So the next thing is to install the scripts. So I have some example scripts here. So the ls and tree are kind of like demo scripts. They are really basic, but they kind of are there to show the purpose of this command line tool. And there's also these 3-time warrior scripts that I already showed you a few minutes ago. So I'm going to go ahead and install all these scripts. So to install the scripts, you run Watchtower -- install, and then you pass all of the scripts that you want to install as non-option arguments. So you can simply do scripts star, and it will match all the files in this scripts subdirectory in the repository, and then you can press enter and it will install all the scripts. So where does it install them? It installs them into home.config watchtower scripts. So that's the location where scripts are installed. Obviously you can do this manually, but I created like a thing for that so that you don't have to remember all of this. You can just install it by using Watchtower itself. So now the scripts are installed, and now let's just run Watchtower and press enter, and you can see that it doesn't output that interactive menu that I had on my main system. So why is that? That is because you need to install a dependency, which is kind of optional. If you don't want an interactive menu, you can just not install it, and you can also run a script by just passing it like this, and it will run. So there's no problem with that. But obviously, I don't know, like maybe someone doesn't like interactive menus or something, but I think it's kind of helpful. So you need to install S-menu for that to work. That's one optional dependency. Another optional dependency is bat, which is used for syntax highlighting. Like for example, here it outputs the commands that it runs, and it uses bat to syntax highlight them so that they look a bit more readable. So that's the 2 optional dependencies that you need to install if you want those features to work. I'm not gonna do it here because you know how to run apt, like how to install a package from apt. So yeah, I'm gonna just skip that because I'm gonna be using my main system for the rest of this video. But one thing that I'm gonna show here before I move on to that is also how to configure Watchtower. So Watchtower uses a configuration file that you can generate with Watchtower, so you don't need to like, it will generate a template for you. Let me basically show you how to do that. You simply type watchtower --config and then press enter, and it will tell you that configuration file does not exist. If it doesn't exist on your system, and it will ask you if you'd like to generate it, you can press enter to agree, say yes, and it will generate this file. So this is the contents of the file that printed out here. Again, use the bat for syntax highlighting here. And so yeah, configuration file successfully generated, and then it will ask you if you would like to open it in the text editor. You can press enter again, and it will open it, and you can configure things here. We'll take a look at it, I guess, later in the video. Maybe not at everything, but at a few things. So next time you run watchtower --config, it will just open the file and won't ask you anything again. So this is how to generate the configuration file. So in the end, once you've installed the scripts, once you've generated your configuration file, you will get this structure in .config watchtower. So a script subdirectory with all the scripts and the config file. So yeah, this is pretty much it for the installation part, like the initial setup. So let's take a look at like the usage of the tool in more detail. So let's see, where do we go from here? So let's open the man page. I'm not gonna go over everything in this video because there's kind of a lot of rabbit holes that we could end up in. But let's see. So I kind of showed the main functionality already. So like I said, you can, in order to run the script, you can either select it from the menu if you have S menu installed, or you can just type the name of the script and it will run it. Also, so all of the scripts take arguments as well. So you can pass like another folder here, for example, and it will basically pass that to ls as though you were typing ls scripts, and it will monitor that folder. You can also pass options to ls, etc., etc. But that really depends on how the script is written. So you can edit scripts also right from Watchtower. You can just type watchtower --edit and for example ls, and it will open the ls script that you have installed, and then you can edit it here. So at this point I'm thinking that it would be good to talk about how to write your own Watchtower scripts, because that's kind of the whole point, for you to be able to create stuff like I created for myself here, that is like that suits your needs and preferences. But for this, you need to know if like a decent amount of bash scripting. So I'll have to explain things kind of assuming that you already are familiar with at least some of this stuff already. But let's go ahead and just kind of try to do our best and manage that in the best way possible. Like first of all, let's take a look at what the script files are. I mean, we already just kind of saw that, but let's kind of specifically take a look at that. So each Watchtower script is simply a bash script. It has to be named something.bash, and that something then becomes the name that appears here in this menu, or the name that you type here, like this. So this is kind of the basics. Then inside the file, So let's just open these scripts, all of them in Vim. So inside of this file, first of all, the positional arguments become are available here. So you can, when you type Watchtower, when you run your script through Watchtower, it will pass the positional arguments that you pass here on the command line over here. So you can use the $@ array, and you can pass whatever you want here. So I can pass ls-1, for example, to make it all appear in a single column, or like pass like a directory there to watch that directory, for example. So this is something that you have to decide for yourself, how you want to design your script and what you want to use the positional arguments for. In this case, I just pass it after all this stuff that I set kind of initially. I can pass more options and like non-option arguments as well. So this is in the case of this script. So as you can see, like, this is a very simple script. It's just a one-liner. The tree script is also a one-liner. I don't know if I I think I already showed it briefly before, or maybe not, but here is how the tree script looks. It just outputs the tree, and it kind of crops the last two lines, which the tree command, it shows like 5 directories, 12 files. I don't find it helpful to see it, that all the time, so I just kind of crop those last two lines here, and the rest of it works kind of similarly to the in a similar way to the ls script. Just can add more options and non-option arguments. So that is a lesson 3. They're very simple, but for example, time-w-chart and time-w-summary are more complex. You can see that in the summary I have like a sed script here that kind of messes with the output of Mediawarrior. So I'm not going to go into this here, but you can see that this script is more complex, and time-w-chart is arguably even a little bit more complex, at least like the line count is even more. So they can be fairly complex, but yeah, I mean, you can really do whatever you want with them, and you can design them in the way that you want. Okay, so now let's take a look at this Watchtower script variable and what it does. So the idea here is that you can think of the Watchtower script as an extension of Watchtower itself. So Watchtower internally has some parameters, and then it passes some of those parameters along to the scripts that it runs. So this variable is intended to contain those parameters. So if we take a look at the man page, there's a section where the Watchtower script variable is described. The section is called scripts, which has also some additional information about how to write Watchtower scripts. And over here, the Watchtower script associative array is described. So it has two values, watch and color. So let's take a look at color, since we have it here in the ls script. So here it says that Watchtower script color holds a decision value that comes from parsing Watchtower's color, no color options. So what does this mean, decision value? So if we take a look at the color option, it can be set to one of these three values: always, auto, or never. So always and never are kind of do what they say. It's simply either turns color on or off. And auto, there's a decision that's going to be made internally depending on whether or not output goes to the terminal or to another command. So if you pipe Watchtower into output into something else, it will turn off the color, which might sound kind of weird because we're not really intending to pipe output into anything. We're like running it through watch to just monitor it in real time, how it changes. But I'll show you in a moment where, like, a situation where it works in a way that you might expect. But first, let's kind of understand what the term decision value means. So decision value simply means that Watchtower gets that value, and then it internally makes a decision. It says, like, it looks at it and it's like, oh, it's always, so its color is on, and or it's like it's auto and output goes to the terminal, like the color is on. So it's either on or off. So this Watchtower script color gets set to either 1 if the color is on, or to an empty string if the color is off. So that's the decision value. It's just like it's either true or false. So I hope this makes sense. Now let's take a look at this watch parameter. Now it kind of goes hand in hand with the watch no watch option. So let's first take a look at what watch no watch does. This is kind of a bit of a weird option for a tool like this, but it tells it to not run the script through watch. So it just outputs the contents once. It can be useful for different purposes. One of them, it might be just like useful for debugging the script, but sometimes it might be useful. It might become kind of like a feature of a script. So let's take a look at this time W chart, for instance. Or yeah, let's take time W chart. So if I just run it, you can see that it fills the screen with however much content it can get. So, but there's more data in TimeWarrior's database that just doesn't fit to the screen. So if I pass no watch, and I'll just let it print everything out, it will print more. It will print everything. So this is how I designed this time W chart script, so that when you pass no watch, it outputs everything, and when it goes into watch, you just output however much it fits into the screen. So yeah, that's what that second value that the WATCHTOWER script associative array holds. WATCHTOWER script watch represents whether a script is being run through watch or not. So this also says here that it holds a decision value. So hopefully now that you understand what decision value means, in this case it's really can only be there is no like auto setting for watch or no watch. It's just like either or. But the idea is the same. It's just like whatever WATCHTOWER already internally decided for that option, and it just kind of passes on that decision, information about that decision, to the script that it's about to run. So there's also this quick tip here in the man page about something that might come in handy if you want to understand a bit better how the script's shell context is constructed. So how what WATCHTOWER actually does under the hood when it runs the script. So I will just copy this this line here, and let's run a script with it. So there's a couple of options set here, which I'm probably not gonna go into a lot of detail in this tutorial, but this essentially allows you to do a dry run and just to see what command it would run if you ran it for real. So I'll just run the ls script, and I'll press enter, and it will output the command that WATCHTOWER runs whenever you type WATCHTOWER ls. So this is what it does under the hood. You can see that it sets here the WATCHTOWER associative array, sets its values here. You can see the values as well, and you can see the sources, the ls.bash script from the config WATCHTOWER scripts folder. There's also this little thing here that just it's kind of a weird value, just like a subshell with an empty command, but what it does is it makes the lines and columns variables. It just sets them so that you have them available for you to like fit your content into the screen. You might need to use those variables for commands that don't do that by themselves. For example, for TimeWarrior, which can't fit its chart report normally into the screen, I calculated the value here, and I used the columns variable here for that. So this little bit here in the beginning makes sure that that variable is set for the script before it runs. So yeah, I'm not gonna be able to go into a lot more detail here about how this works, but hopefully looking at this command sheds some light on how WATCHTOWER runs its scripts and what's happening under the hood. So I think as far as writing scripts, this is as much as I'll be able to explain in this tutorial. Let's take a quick look at a couple of more things. Maybe a couple of just a few configuration parameters that are useful to know about. So you can see that there's these options that are passed to watch here. So these are actually things that you can configure in the configuration file, how you want your watch command to run. So by default, let's see. Actually, I don't remember what the default watch opts are. Let me check that. So yeah, the default options that it's gonna pass to watch are these. So CTPN1. So C stands for process and C escape sequences that allow color to be displayed. T is for do not show header. So when you run watch, if I just run, watch ls, it shows this header by default. In Watchtower, it's not gonna do that, but you can change this here. P stands for precise, so it will you can basically read man page for watch to really understand what it does, but it changes how the refresh rate, like how fast, how often watch refreshes the output. It affects how that is processed. And then N1 is just simply the number of seconds, the refresh rate of the screen. So how often watch refreshes its output. So by default I set it to 1 second, but actually on my system I use 0.1 as the value. I close the configuration file. So here I set it to 0.1 for myself, but by default I set it to 1 in Watchtower itself. So you can set this also per script if you want, and that is what this watch opts associative array is for. So you can comment this out or uncomment this, and then you can add a key that has to match the name of the script. So for example, ls, and then you can set options specifically for ls. So let's set something different. So let's say cpn 0.1. So now if I close it and I run Watchtower ls, now I can see the header again. So that's something that can be changed per script. So just one more thing that I would like to mention is that Watchtower can also rename and remove the scripts that it has installed. So if you wanted to rename a script, you could simply type Watchtower rename, and then either pass an argument here again or select from the menu. So let's say the ls script, you want to rename it. Maybe I want to call it list instead, and it will rename it. And you could also delete a script by typing either --rm or remove. So for example, if I wanted to remove the ls script, I could type this and would delete the file. There are also options to preview what Watchtower would do, but without actually running the commands. They are listed under options, command execution, and there's this exec option, which is the default, and then there's also no-exec. So you could pass -X, so I don't want to remove the ls, I just want to show you what it would do. So I can just do that, and it asks you if you want to delete it, but it won't actually delete it in this case because it will say dry run, meaning that it's not actually running that command, it just shows you what it would do. So this is the same as passing no-exec. So yeah, not gonna go into these other options. There's something you could also avoid having this prompt appear. You can could pass -YY for execute without asking. So just take a look at the man page to get into more detail about how all this stuff works. So let's see, is there anything else that's worth knowing about here? So renaming, removing. Yeah, you can also just run commands without actually writing a script. So you could type dash command, and I can type like less here, and it would just run a less. So in this case it would function similarly to just using watch, but with the default options set. So with these options set, could be useful in some cases as well. So yeah, you can choose whether you want to just display a plain text menu or the interactive menu. Yeah, and also when you install scripts, you could choose either to move them, to copy, or to link them. So if you want to symlink scripts, you can also do that by using -- install. By default, it copies them. So that's how that works. There's also sections in the man page here describing configuration file only parameters, and you can change the default behavior. For example, if you have smenu installed, and but you don't want Watchtower to use it by default, you could set this default this value to list, and it would just list the plain text. So everything is really configurable. You could also change how scripts are installed by default, copy is the default, but you can change this to move or link if you want, and you can change the way of linking that you prefer if you want to do that. So there's a lot of little configuration options that might be helpful. So yeah, this is gonna be it for this video. I hope you like this command line tool. My next video is gonna be about an MPV plugin that I wrote that allows me to automatically track what I watch in MPV player for my language learning, and this is actually what you see here in this output of Watchtower that I have in this Tmax window. So like all this stuff is different things that I watched to learn German in this case. And basically I wrote an MPV plugin that allows you to automatically track the files that you watch, that you play in MPV player. So this can be useful for language learning, or just to track whatever you listen to or watch in MPV for whatever reason. So if you'd like to learn more about that, there's going to be a video, so you could check it out if you're interested. But as for this video, we're gonna wrap up here. If you would like to support this channel, you can do it at ko-fi.com/linguisticmind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.